Grinders and grindettes, what's going on? It's your guy, the Black Abstract. You're locked in once again. And I will say allergy season is amongst us because, man, my eyes are itching right now, but I'm playing it off. And if they look a little red, don't think I'm high. It's just, I'm getting irritated. Anyway, that's not why we're here. The Murder Inc. story was released in 5 parts, starting at I believe the end of August, and it led all the way up to September something. I don't know. I don't have a calendar in front of me. But it showed the makings of the record label Murder Inc., which was headed by Irv Gotti, Ja Rule, featured Ja Rule, Ashanti, Lloyd, amongst other artists. It featured and showed the rise and demise of the label. And, you know, Irv is kind of like in his second win of life. He had the Tales show on BT, and as we know, he also just got $300 million for his catalog from Murder Inc. So, listen, I would say money well spent, great investment, always bet on yourself. And you listen, at the end, you know I rate everything with microphones out of 5 mics. I'm like the source, so I'll be rating this. What I thought about this show after watching it. After watching this, I had a newfound respect for Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti is somebody over the years who I always admired him from afar for what he accomplished. But during the Murder Inc. era, I liked it Ja Rule's Veni Vidi Vici, and I liked it Ashanti. There was no in between for me. I did not like some of those records. I liked Put It On Me. I like Every Little Thing That I Do, and Always On Time. Those 3 records were I liked. Other than that, I couldn't stand all that other shit. It was the Bobby Brown song, Wonderful, just a bunch of these songs I couldn't stand. I liked some of the guest spots Ja did when he worked on He Who Shall Not Be Named's album. They got a song together that's a classic. And you know, he had a couple of spots here and there, but you know, I always thought Ja Rule was kind of like a second-rate DMX until he found his own niche, and then I was just like, well, I like the fact that he's doing what is working for him, but dude, it's like music right now is horrible because I was in the streets at that time. So you gotta understand. Now, as I stand now as a rapper and a grown man, I appreciate his music. Watching the verses, some of those songs I didn't like back then, I was just like, yo, this is this from a songwriter's perspective, this is an amazing song. Like, his pen is crazy. Like, and salute to Ja Rule. So I'm talking about back then when I was a kid in the street and I'm selling crack and I'm doing all these bad things, that music really didn't resonate when they flipped to the other side. But that was the point of this documentary slash, I don't know what you want to call it, a biography, to explain the process and the thoughts behind these records and what they were doing. First of all, it starts off with Irving Lorenzo is his real name. He grows up a young kid in Queens, family of 8, like the Jacksons. He's the most outspoken, outwardly thinking member of the family. He's also the youngest. So, you know, obviously the youngest always gets some attention. But he grew up in a 2-parent household, and his dad drove cabs, and he supported 8 kids. I think they only had 3 bedrooms, so there was a lot of overlapping going on. But this kid grew up to appreciate hip-hop, was a DJ at first, something I didn't know. I didn't know he was a DJ, and I feel like every great producer at one point in time was a DJ, and they either, you know, just kind of stray from it, or a lot of them still do it, you know. And Irv was a DJ, and not only was he the nicest DJ, he was the nicest in the neighborhood. So he got his props, and that led into, you know, obviously, naturally, the progression is, like I said, production. So he started producing. Producing lets you meet the locals. Some of the locals he met were DMX and a young Jay-Z, who he produced for his first album. But he also, before that, he produced for Jazz, or used to DJ for Jazz. Jazz O, who discovered Jay-Z and was Jay-Z's mentor. So with that being said, they went over on a tour in London, and he's meeting a young Jay-Z, and they realizing that they got a lot of things in common. And Irv even said, listen, I always thought Jay-Z was better than Jaz-O. And, you know, they made plans to work on each other and help each other out. And, you know, the rest is history. One thing I will say, and I'll say this confidently, and I think Irv Grady can agree with me. And I'm going to say maybe. There wouldn't be a DMX, a Jay-Z, or Ja Rule if there wasn't for Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti was very influential in getting Jay-Z his deal to come to Def Jam. He was influential in getting DMX signed because a lot of people, believe it or not, did not want to touch DMX. They didn't want to touch him for whatever reason. I don't know if they thought he was too street. Because what Puffy was doing at the time was winning. He was just too grimy. They did not want to touch him. And I'm glad how it worked out for DMX. I couldn't see DMX being on no other label. Could you imagine DMX in a shiny suit on Bad Boy? It wouldn't happen, right? But I'm glad he went to Def Jam. I'm glad his image was who he was, because he changed the course of music. He brought it back to that grimy street shit, and it was great. Also, Jay-Z, DMX, and Ja Rule supposed to be in the group Murder Inc. This is something I always knew. If you listen to Murdergram on the Streets is Watching soundtrack with Jay-Z, DMX, and Ja Rule, DMX completely bodies them on the track. This is one of DMX's hottest verses. He raps. People are excited about Jay-Z for rapping about 4 minutes on his new track. DMX rapped for about 4 minutes on this track, some grimy street shit, and was bodying these niggas. Body Jay-Z and body fucking Ja Rule. Listen, Murdergram on the Streets is Watching soundtrack. I'm surprised Jay-Z even put that song on that soundtrack, because I would have been embarrassed. But anyway, getting back to the story, we learned ecstasy also played a role in a lot of these hit records, and they just had bowls of them. We learned Irv didn't do drugs initially, but when he did, it was something about ecstasy that let him tap into this creative juice. Same way Lean did for Lil Wayne when he made the Carter 3. He tapped in some of the unknowns, and that's why some of these biggest records came about, because he was on ecstasy. We also learned the role that 50 Cent played in the demise of G-Unit, and I forgot they had their second win kind of when Lloyd came back, because they were kind of hush about really promoting the brand behind him, because I think they wanted him to be more of a pure R&B artist, and they had that stank on them a little bit, so they were like, all right, we got to kind of fall back. So that made sense. That's what I'm guessing. They didn't say it in the doc, but that's what I'm guessing, because the Lloyd song with Lil Wayne, I didn't even know he was on Murder Inc. at the time. I thought, and Get It Shorty, I thought he had labels switched already, but that was apparently all Murder Inc.'s thing. So I think that was like a plan to kind of like, all right, let's just sit back, let's fall back, you know what I'm saying? And we learned eventually what happened after the court case. We know they got indicted and had to go through this gruesome trial because he decided to rub elbows with Kenneth Supreme McGriff, and that will ultimately wind up being the downfall of Murder Inc. After getting a second win, after getting acquitted, like I said, with the Lloyd projects, we learned Irv just, at the end of the day, he just burnt out. He just didn't have it in him to keep running the label. It was just, the passion wasn't there no more. And I get it. I've been there before. All in all, I thought this was dope. A lot of people talking about the Ashanti part, when he said, how, they started talking. But listen, that's just the day and age we live in. People gonna hate you for whatever you do or whatever you say. He was just telling his side of the story. Ashanti had every opportunity to be a part of this doc, and she could have told her side of it. I don't think Irv is lying. I think they really did have a relationship. I think that they really probably was falling for each other at one point in time, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. I don't think Irv's hung up on it. I just think it's part of the history. And I think Irv Gotti, as you listen to in his doc, he says one of his biggest flaws, and Kenneth Supreme said as well, is his big mouth. So I think this is just an example of Irv having a big mouth, running it, and it's getting him in trouble. And on top of that, Irv knows how to promote. He's a genius. He's a genius intellect. He is, and kudos to Irv, man. I know I made another video talking about the Ashanti when he was on Drink Champs. I'm like, yo, you gotta let it go. Didn't mean it's disrespect. It's just my opinion, the way he worded it. But looking back at it, it was a way to promote this docuseries because everybody was tuned into it. If I had to rate this out of 5 mics, I would give it a 5 because they didn't hold back on anything. You know, they were honest about how 50 kind of, you know, destroyed them or jabbed them and took them down for a little bit right at the same time as they were getting indicted by the feds. And it was very transparent. And then, you know, I just learned so much from it. Even though I knew a lot of stuff already, it was still things I learned. And when I can learn and figure out or find out something new, aside from me already knowing my hip-hop history, I think that's a plus. So I'm going to get this 5 mics. Check it out if you got Hulu or if you got, you know, Jailbroke Fire Stick, whatever you got. Make sure you check out the Murder Inc. doc. Get your hip-hop history lesson. And as always, peace, love, and prosperity. Make sure you like, subscribe, please. And go to prayforbuffalo.com or IamTrill.com if you need some merch. Peace.